Hi, welcome to our show today. I'm Marie and
Russell.
And we're still standing with Ukraine. Today we're going to talk a bit about the roller coaster ride of US-Ukrainian relations. And Russell's like the real expert on this, so I'm going to ask Russell a little bit about what's going on. And we're going to kind of go back in time to February of this year. And what happened in February, Russell?
What happened in February? Well, everybody remembers probably Zelensky had been invited to the White House to meet with Trump. And they were going to talk about more aid for Ukraine and so on. And that's the day when J.D. Vance, Vice President, and President Trump basically ambushed Zelensky, belittled him, berated him, basically called him names in front of the world, and made him look like tried to make him look like a fool, but did not.
Zelensky kind of maintained his composure that day, didn't he?
I remember watching that, and he maintained his composure a lot better than I did. And basically, they threw him out of the White House before lunch. They were going to have a luncheon with reporters, and they basically decided to scrap the rest of the day and throw Zelensky out of the White House by noontime. So that was not a good diplomatic day.
No, it was not, and it sure made us wonder what the rest of the year, never mind the next 4 years, let's get through this year, how that was going to be like. And so by March, what happened in March?
Well, this meeting we just talked about was in late February, and then in early March, Donald Trump decided to stop sending military shipments to Ukraine, which really hurt their defense of Ukraine. Ukraine's never really been on the offense, but it hurt their defense, and let Russia pick up some territory. And at the same time, Donald Trump stopped sharing intelligence, satellite intelligence mainly, with Ukraine. What
does that do?
Well, we had been giving them targeting information and information on Russian concentrations and stuff of troops, so they stopped doing all that in March. But that was part of the discussion we're going through here. It may sound kind of haphazard, but this is what really happened, and this is how the President of the United States' mind works, evidently. A week after stopping the intelligence sharing and so on, they reinstated the intelligence sharing, so things were back to normal after a week.
Wow. So it's a back and forth going on already.
So things kind of settled down till mid-July, when Donald Trump had one of his let's wait 2 more weeks period was ending, meaning that he was about to increase aid to Ukraine and so on. And I think Vladimir Putin panicked a little when he heard that waiting period was going to end. So he called up Donald Trump, and the two of them scheduled a meeting, the famous Anchorage, Alaska meeting.
So that was in August, right?
That was actually held in August, mid-August, where this would be a good place, I guess, to point out, in case people aren't aware or forget, Vladimir Putin, for over 2 years now, has been an internationally wanted war criminal for various things he's done in Ukraine.
Like kidnapping children?
Kidnapping children, deporting them to Russia, murdering civilians, torturing civilians, murdering POWs, all kinds of things. He's actually been only convicted so far in the International Criminal Court of deporting the children. So this international war criminal was invited to Anchorage, Alaska, to have a summit with Donald Trump. And
they laid out the red carpet, huh?
Donald Trump literally had United States Air Force personnel on their hands and knees, you can find pictures of it, rolling out a red carpet up to Vladimir Putin's airplane so he could walk on the red carpet.
Nice.
Not much came of that meeting, that did anybody any good, except it was another stall tactic for Putin. It worked out in that regard, but it didn't do anything for Ukraine.
So he was basically doing this because he wanted to be responsible for ending wars, right?
Donald Trump somewhere got a bug in his bonnet that he wanted to be awarded a Nobel Peace Prize, and I think it's because Obama had gotten a Nobel Peace Prize and he doesn't want to be wound up by a Democratic president. So he's been on a tear the last few months doing things. There's some interpretation in this, you understand, but a lot of people agree with this, that he's been on a tear trying to win himself a Nobel Peace Prize, either by settling the war in Gaza or the war in Ukraine. If you remember, he was going to stop the war in Ukraine his first 24 hours in office. That would have certainly got him a Nobel Peace Prize.
That would have been great.
but that, as we all knew all along, was impossible.
Yeah, because of the one in charge of Russia. He doesn't want to end that war,
The one in charge, well, yeah, we got three personalities here. Zelensky, who desperately wants to end the war and return his country back to their internationally recognized borders of 1991. You got Donald Trump, who doesn't give a you-know-what about Ukraine or Zelensky, but wants to win a Nobel Peace Prize. And you have Vladimir Putin, who wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union. So it's kind of an interesting three-way interplay.
Including Alaska that he was so happy to set foot on.
That
in August.
That meeting in Alaska was a great feather in Putin's hat, because I mean, an internationally wanted war criminal who had been isolated from the world basically for 2 years is now welcomed by the President of the United States on a red carpet to the United States of America. So it probably boosted Putin's standing in world circles greatly just for that couple-hour meeting.
Yeah, because I remember we watched a YouTube video with Jake Bro, and it was, and I'm sorry, I totally forgot my point.
Well, Jake Bro, we mentioned him a couple of times on these segments, I think, and people who want to keep up with what's going on in Ukraine can watch us once a week or so. But there's a fellow named Jake Bro who was a United States Air Force captain. He's retired now, and he does a YouTube video that Marie and I both religiously watch 3 times a week, I guess, right? He does.
Yeah, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sunday evenings, but sometimes he varies because of his things going on in the world and also things going on in his life. But it's pretty much those 3 days.
Yeah, you can count on 3 days a week that he does something. Usually he does one more, if anything else, where he'll interview somebody like a United States politician or another YouTube blogger from Europe or something like that. So that's a great, I don't know if we mentioned him before, I think we did, but that's a great source of information for people who want to stay informed about Ukraine.
Yeah, and he was mentioning on his show, a lot of times he brings on Russian TV. And when that episode in Alaska happened, he put Russian TV, one of the famous anchors on Russian TV is Soviov. Am I saying that correctly?
Solyov, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like so happy that Putin stepped on Alaskan soil, and they were touting the fact that it was going to be part of their land again. This is Alaska, it's part of the United States of America. So I don't know, but then September happened, and September things changed, I think.
Yeah.
Again.
August was not good to Ukraine, really, or world diplomacy. But all of a sudden, I've done a lot of reading on this, and I can't find an exact reason why people think this happened, but all of a sudden in September, Donald Trump was given an interview with some network. I don't remember what network it was. And I got to read this so I get it properly quoted. Donald Trump said, "I think Ukraine, with support of the EU, is in a position to win back all of Ukraine." And I've highlighted all of Ukraine. Donald Trump said he thought Ukraine would win back all of Ukraine. This is the guy who threw Zelensky out of the Oval Office a couple months earlier.
That was really weird, but maybe it was a negotiating thing that he would use with Putin.
There's been a lot of talk that, and Jake Bro's one of these people that is pushing this line of interpretation, that a lot of what Trump says is just designed for Putin's ears, whereas other things are designed for our ears. And maybe Trump is just trying to scare Putin.
Maybe.
Because Trump still has that Nobel Peace Prize in the back of his mind. And if he starts talking about helping Ukraine totally win the war and win back all his territory, maybe Putin will negotiate and maybe Trump will get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Maybe.
Which won't excite me at all. But ending the war would excite me, but not seeing him get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. So a lot of things, that was like a little bit in September, but a lot of things have been happening now in October.
October, yeah, we should mention this is, what's the date today? October 27th.
October 27th.
We're recording this on October 27th, which is a Monday. The last week has kind of been a whirlwind, maybe 2 weeks.
I'm afraid to say hopeful, but it's feeling a bit hopeful, isn't it?
Well, Zelensky and Donald Trump had a meeting scheduled for October 17, several days ahead of that date.
Right.
Zelensky was going to travel to Washington and meet with Donald Trump. Lo and behold, Donald Trump is sitting at the Oval Office on October 16, the day before. The phone rings, and it's Vladimir Putin. And he says, Donald, what do you say you and I get together and have another summit? Maybe we hammer this out between ourselves.
Was he calling because he heard something about tomahawks, maybe?
Maybe. Zelensky was hoping that on his meeting of the 17th, he was going to get the United States to promise Tomahawk missiles, a new type of cruise missile that Ukraine could possibly use. I think I said that wrong when I was talking about the phone call. Putin called Trump and arranged to meet on the 16th. He called before the 16th. So Trump and Putin met on the 16th, the day before Zelensky was to meet at the White House. Zelensky was in his hotel room somewhere in Washington, D.C., while Vladimir Putin met
on the phone.
Donald Trump. Well, yeah, they didn't meet in person. They spoke on the phone.
Right.
So lo and behold, the next day, I gotta get the names right, the Zelensky meeting took place. No Tomahawk missiles, no increase in aid, no increase in anything for Ukraine. Basically, I was going to say things were on a, polite footing, but that might not even be true because there's reports from people who could see these meetings. They weren't all televised. That there was still some shouting going on between Zelensky and Trump. Yeah. But they left on good terms with no promise and increase in aid to...
Yeah, it seemed kind of uneventful then, that day.
Yes, and then we found out that Trump and Putin, correct me if I mix up the names, Trump and Putin had scheduled a summit to meet in person in Hungary.
Right.
Without Zelensky being present.
Yeah.
So that was the big news.
So the President Orban was quite happy to be in that mix, I think.
Orban, the president of Hungary, is in Russia's back pocket, so he was happy to be part of that. Mm-hmm. And Putin was happy to be able to delay Trump from helping Ukraine any further, with Trump thinking, oh boy, I just got to wait a couple more weeks to meet with Vladimir in person.
2 more weeks.
Finally get my Nobel Peace Prize. So what date are we up to in this discussion? About the 17th?
About the 17th, yeah.
Zelensky
and no help. But then the 21st.
October 21st. Excuse us if the exact dates aren't important, but all this happened within the last week or so. On October 21st, Donald Trump announces that the meeting between him and Putin is canceled, with no reason given except that Trump said, I don't want to waste my time, like we did last time.
Yeah. So the next day, on the 22nd...
The next day, you can read a lot of things into this. Maybe Putin was upset that he wasn't going to meet with Trump again, or maybe he was just back to his old tactics, but on the very next day, which would be October 22nd, Russia sent cruise missiles and Shahed drones into several different buildings in the Kharkiv area of Ukraine, and one of their targets. These things don't just go somewhere in New Hampshire or something. They can be pinpointed to within a few feet. They hit a kindergarten in the daytime when school was in session. So this was a few days ago. No kids were seriously hurt or killed, thank goodness, but one person did get killed in that attack.
Yeah, because they have bomb shelters now, so they got the notice, and the kids went down into the basement, and then they had to be hurried out because of the fire. But one of the teachers, for whatever reason, had stayed upstairs or went back upstairs. I don't know, but they were the one that ended. They were fatally hit. So yeah, just another day really in Ukraine, because they have hit so many schools. They've had to create bomb shelters. One of our past episodes, Kenneth Glover, who with his partner will be going back in November, a couple days, they'll be going back to Ukraine to help, but they helped to build a bomb shelter for one of the schools closer to the front line. So, yep, they hit another kindergarten. So then between the 22nd and the 24th, after this kindergarten episode, I guess maybe Trump said, that's enough? You think that was enough for him? Because what happened right after that?
I think Melania has been in Donald's ear and giving him some sense of humanity.
I don't know, but I hope so, yeah.
Because right after that attack on the kindergarten, within a day or day and a half, Donald Trump announced that he was going to put severe sanctions on Russia, sanctioning their two biggest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, and several smaller oil companies, and several, and I mean this amounts to dozens of tankers, ships that have been illegally transporting, kind of under the wire and under the headlines, and illegally transporting Russian oil around the world. So we're sanctioning all of those places all of a sudden, which is fantastic news. It's the first sanctions that Donald Trump has put on Russia in these 10 months he's been in power.
I hear that a sanction doesn't work unless it's enforced, because there were sanctions that were put in January that were never enforced. So hopefully these get enforced. It seems like they may be to some extent, because there are people that are running around trying to do something, and they might create other companies. I think Jake Bro was the one that mentioned that sanctions only work for a while till they do a workaround.
Yeah, these companies and people that are sanctioned have found ways around sanctions if they're given enough time and can find enough people willing to help them. But another good thing about this latest sanction package from the United States, within this last few days, in October 24, 25 or so, this coalition of the willing met in London.
Yeah.
And that's 33 countries, mostly in Europe, but also including Japan and Turkey and New Zealand, Canada, but not the United States. This coalition of the willing met, and Zelensky met, I think, via Zoom in the conference. And the coalition of the willing, which is pretty much the EU, but other places too, they've agreed to go along with all these sanctions that we put on.
Japan is part of the coalition of the willing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Trump's there in Japan right now, Turkey even, and New Zealand. So that's pretty cool. And hopefully it's going to help.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that Ukraine, which we haven't mentioned, has been hitting a number of oil refineries, so that they can't sell refined will.
Yeah, things
To
is,
the extent that they used to. And he's calling it a type of sanction.
yeah, things are starting to look hopeful with basically the free world putting on this stiffer level of sanctions now. And to hamper Russia's sale or refining of oil products is critical, because most of Russia's federal budget is funded by oil sales. So if that can be hampered, Russia won't have the money to spend on the war effort that they need or want to spend. So right now, as we sit here, October 27, daylight Eastern time in New Hampshire, 3:30, things are looking up. But by the time you see this later in this week, things could have changed.
We
Things will
hope
have
for the
changed.
better.
Things
We
will have
hope
changed.
for the better,
Yeah.
but
We just don't know how they'll
yeah.
have changed.
But meanwhile, for almost 4 years now, we've been doing what we can to turn art and crafts into humanitarian aid for Ukraine. So this weekend, which is November 1st, so if you're seeing this after November 1st, it's done, but we may have other things that you can attend, and you can catch up with us via the information underneath. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see information on the links below. But you can also find information if you follow us at on Facebook. We have a group that's called Sunflower of Ukraine, so you can find us there. And also, we help a group called Dobro New England, D-O-B-R-O, Dobro meaning kindness in Ukraine, and they are on Facebook and Instagram. And so you can follow us to find out more information about what's happening. I'm Marie Gervacio. I put a lot of things on my Facebook and Instagram posts as well. And so I wanted to show you these really pretty ornaments, because we'll have these.
As in Christmas ornaments in
As
October?
As in Christmas ornaments in October. Well, November 1st, because I'll have them at Kimmel Jenkins. We're going to be at Kimmel Jenkins for the Route 3 Art Walk that's happening on November 1st from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'll be demonstrating my art there. And Russell will be helping me with sales of my art and also other people's art, including the Ukrainian art. So I want to bring some Christmas items so you can begin to get this. But also, I'm trying to get Svetlana to come sometime in November to the DIY Craft and Thrift that's on Main Street, where I also have my art is there to be seen and purchased as well at the DIY Craft and Thrift. And I do workshops there. So this is called Petrikivka art. It's the Ukrainian folk art, which is now a UNESCO official art of Ukraine. And she teaches how to do this on these Christmas balls. So this is going to be something real lovely to do. So be on the lookout for when we do a workshop later on. So you can check me out at the DIY Craft and Thrift, and we'll have information on their website too, if you follow them already. But that's DIY Craft and Thrift, or you can find the information at Dobro New England or dobroinc.org. I don't think they'll have it on the website, but you can find them on Facebook or Instagram. Or Marie Gervacio, Gervacio. And I'll have information there. Hopefully we get to see you on November 1st. I want to thank Concord TV for all they do to help support our cause. And if you are seeing this on YouTube and you haven't yet, please subscribe and click the like button.
Did we give the name yet of the YouTube channel? Still Standing with Ukraine.
Still Standing with Ukraine is the YouTube channel. And so, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I'm pretty well talked out.
Yeah, we want to hear just good news from now on. And so I want to thank you for watching, and hope you're still standing with Ukraine. And I want to say Slava Ukraini,
Heroum Slava.
which means glory to Ukraine and glory to the heroes.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.